Welcome back, everybody, to the Paige Kornblue Show. Today's one of those episodes I'm so excited about, and this is because my guest is not only my friend, but this is a New York Times bestseller times like 10, and he's someone who shaped the way I think about leadership, resilience, and the stories that connect us. And so I want to welcome John U. Bacon to the show. John?
Paige, thank you. Good to be here.
It's so good to have you here. Thank you. Got you while you were passing through South Florida on one of your many book tours. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to dip into some of those books, but just so everybody knows, John has written more than a dozen books, including the latest work, The Gales of November. And my favorite book, I always, when everyone asks you, what's your favorite movie, what's your favorite book? It's this one down here. This is the one I always share with everybody. Let Them Lead. Unexpected Lessons in Leadership from America's Worst High School Hockey Team.
All true.
And that's my favorite.
And I was the coach of that team. That's the punchline.
So we're going to dip into some of these. You've also taught at the University of Michigan. Professor there, where my own parents sat in your class a time or two.
That's how we met.
You bring that depth, the insight from the classroom, the press box, which I often catch you in the field and, of course, on the page. So I applaud you. Your work inspires me, and I'm honored to have you with me. We've talked about this for a long time, so glad to catch you in motion. But another time I've seen you've been a motivational speaker in the corporate world, which is an amazing talent that you have. And let's start there. Okay. What are some of those bullet points in this day, right? Like, I feel like we pop open our phone, there's great news, and then there's that news that just stops us in our tracks every day. What are some of the things from all the things you write and stories you share that you would say are just like, all right, when I go speak, whether it's about a book or about the office world, in corporate America, what do you like to share?
You're talking about that book there, of course. That's from my experience coaching high school hockey back in Michigan. And we had the worst team in the nation, ranked dead last out of 1,256. That's pretty impressive in a way. Paige, we didn't suck. We aspired to suck. That was the reach goal. Actually, pardon my language. So they hired the worst player in school history, yours truly. So yes, worst team in America, worst coach, or worst player in school history. This should work. But I got a lot of good help from smart people. So I'd say a few things, and that's what I'm usually speaking about when I do the corporate work. First thing is get help. Warren Buffett had a great line about this. If you think you're the smartest guy in the room, get a better room. It's not your job to be the smartest person in the room. It's your job to figure out who is, get them on your team, and all work together. So don't have an ego about that. That's one thing. Second of all, almost always leaders, bosses, teachers, etc., coaches tend to focus on results, and we certainly cared about results. I'm a competitive person. I'd rather win than lose. It's stats, 15 stats per player every game. So that's a whole lot of stats. We tracked all this stuff. But we didn't emphasize the results. You emphasize the behaviors. You don't control the results. Pucks bounce, goalies do funny things, so do refs. In the corporate world, in the business world, COVID, federal government, the weather, the economy, these things you just don't control. Control your behaviors. What time do you show up? What are your attitudes? Are you dressed ready to go? Are you ready to work together? We only had 2 rules in our team: work hard and support your teammates. If you did those 2 things, I'm happy. If we don't do those 2 things, even if we win a game we shouldn't win, I'm not happy. So we just focused on the behaviors, not the results. That's hard to do. The last thing I'd say is let them lead. You have to be courageous enough to hand your teenage kids the car keys, don't you? I'm not there yet with mine. He's 10. But sooner or later, they've got to carve the turkey and paint the porch and do whatever it is they're going to do. They will not do it the way you did it. But you have to let them do it. And once the standards are established, then it should be pretty obvious what they need to do.
I mean, you say you're not there yet in the parenting. We might dip into some parenting in a little bit, but my goodness, John, I think it's so hard for those of us to hand over that baton, if you will, right? And I was just listening to some MLB legends who talked about, hey, these are kids, let them play. Talk to them in the car.
Right.
Don't be shouting out,
And even in the car, I've gotten good lessons about this from friends of mine who've coached and athletic parents and so on. Try to keep it to, I love watching you play. Because once you make it about you, it becomes your thing and not their thing. Once it's your thing and not their thing, motivation's not the same. So it's hard for me since I coach my kids, basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever teams. It's hard for me to bite my tongue, but I have to. And let them play their games. If they're into it, and that's going to be their thing. But the more you get out of the way, the better.
What brought you to this book? And then we'll kind of lead into some of the other books you've worked on.
Sure. Well, the team we talked about there, that was 0, 22, and 3. The year before I got there, and a few non-sports fans out there, the zeros where the wins go, by the way. So in case you're scoring at home, 22 losses and 3 ties. We did get better. We got better very quickly. I did not cut a single player from the 0, 22, and 3 team. And yet 7 games our first year, 16 games our second year. We were 17, 4, and 5 our third year. We were ranked number 53 in the nation, so we passed 1,203 teams in 3 years. And some of those guys saw the whole arc, the guys who were freshmen in the first year, of course. So it worked, is the point. And what worked, I got to tell you, even though I put a lot of faith in these guys, even I underestimated what the younger generation can do. The biggest complaint in corporate America right now, without question, is 25-year-olds. They're lazy, they're soft, they're entitled, they're always on their phones and blah, 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 etc. Outside of the phone thing, that complaint goes back to Socrates, by the way. It's a slide I use in my speeches. 2,500 years ago, he was already complaining about Generation Z, trust me. So it's a loser. Don't go down that path. I underestimated these guys. The more I gave them, the more they could do. I told my parents it's going to take probably 5 years to turn this around. It took 2. And that's not because of me. It's because of them. They did all the work. And my joke is, I didn't score a single goal as a player. I didn't score a single goal as a coach. So whoever scored the goals, it wasn't me. And by the way, I played forward too, so that's not very good.
Your work is all over the map in the best of ways. So we've got athletics, of course, leadership and athletics. And then your latest, what we're talking about these days, is now another New York Times bestseller, The Gales of November. I'm going to show it to everybody here for those on
Paige,
video.
I'm going to let you. There you go.
Here's this shot. Here's can we see this? Yeah. A beauty. The untold story of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Just a little background, if you could give us, for those who are not as familiar as those in the Midwest, about the lakes of Michigan and, a shipwreck, right? So give us the basics here.
Okay. The short version, November 10th, 1975, so 50 years ago and change. The Edmund Fitzgerald, an iron ore carrier on the Great Lakes, went down. Gordon Lightfoot did a famous song about it, which is still played quite often. It finished number 2 that year in 1976, the next year, behind Rod Stewart. So there you go. But basically, this book tells the story not only about what happened, the factors that caused it to sink, but also how incredibly dangerous the Great Lakes are. I was not aware that they were probably more dangerous than the Atlantic Ocean, according to experienced commercial sailors, which is news to me. Number 2, how important shipping is. Trains are 3 times more efficient than trucks, and ships are twice as efficient as trains. So shipping is 600% more efficient than trucks. So anything you put on a ship, you do. So even here in Florida, the cement in your basement, you guys don't have basements.
No,
Make that up.
no.
The cement in your cinder blocks. How about that? Now we're getting closer. The steel in your car, the food on your table, it all comes from these ships. The third thing is these guys, 29 crew, I got to 14 of the 29 families. And that's what really drove me, is trying to find out who these people are, what their lives are like on board, what their lives are like on shore, what their jobs are like, and so on. It was just fascinating, the whole thing. And it's done very well, luckily, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Good reviews, good sales. So I feel grateful for that.
What kicked it off for you, though? What was the inspiration for you to tell this story?
I grew up in Michigan, surrounded by the Great Lakes, of course, by 4 of the 5. I've been on all 5 of the Great Lakes. I've sailed some of them, the Port Huron to Mackinac race and so on. I see these ships go by, but I realized I know almost nothing about these guys or what they do. shipping is an invisible industry. As one of my experts said, the farmer, the factory worker, the miner, no one knows the sailor, but that's where your stuff comes from. And I knew nothing about the 29 men on board. So I wanted to find out more about them, their lives, and those stories, I think, really are what drive the book. It also might be why. The book on goodreads.com, it's 2 or 3 to 1, women to men, reviewing it. And we've gotten into the women's book clubs and so on, so it's not just an engineering wonky book. It's personal stories.
Yeah, and I think so many of us think that, like, down here, it's like, oh, the lakes, they're so calm, and it's just surprising to see, what you're showing us and taking us through all of the specifics and the dangers.
Well, 2 quick nuggets on that. From 1875 to 1975, there were 6,000 commercial shipwrecks on the Great Lakes, and that's the low estimate. That's 1 per week, every week for a century. 30,000 crew lost, 1 per day, every day for a century. That's how dangerous it is. And not one has been lost since that ship went down 50 years ago. So they finally got their act together for forecasting, communications, and really just common sense. It's that nasty out. And the day it went down where it was located, you had 100-mile-per-hour winds, which will get your attention even in Southwest Florida, I believe.
Southeast.
What am I saying? Yes.
I know,
Naples
you're
is
all
that
over.
way. I've been all over the state.
I
Sorry.
know. It's okay.
Sarasota a couple of days ago. But Southeast Florida, of course, and 60-foot waves. And these things are only about 10 feet out of the water. So that means 60 feet are burying your ship every 4 to 8 seconds. So there's your fire hose version, of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and how long does it take you to write a book like this?
The other ones that you've read, and of course, I'm sure your viewers must know you're a fervent Michigan fan, as were your parents, naturally. The football and the hockey books take me about a year and change. I know those sports. I usually know what's going on. I know half the story before I start. That one took me 3.5 years. When I asked my wife, why is this taking me so long? She said, oh, that's easy. You didn't know what the hell you're talking about. And it's kind of true. So 95% of what's in that book, I did not know 4 years ago.
And now you do, and you know it very well, and you're sharing it with the world. So thank you. How about the lessons on like decision-making, courage, that you've kind of unraveled through these stories, these sailors and their families?
They're all kind of related that way, certainly. One thing that happens in disasters, I've found, and one of my experts said this, when a big ship goes down like this, it's rarely one thing. It's a series of dominoes that start falling, safety nets that are pulled back by this guy, that guy, thinking that the other guy is going to do his job, so don't worry about it, etc. Bad luck. It's a lot of things that start happening. When the dominoes start falling, they fall very fast. You can't stop them, and it gets ugly quickly. And that's kind of what happened here. So as much as you can, same with flights, when they go down, there's a phrase for it, but basically the procedure of an accident, it's almost never one thing. It's a series of things. So when you're upstream on that, take your job seriously, because that's where the problems start downstream.
You said 3.5 years for this beauty. What would be your advice for those who want to tackle a similar project, whether it be similar to the Gales or any type of book? A lot of people have been interested in that these days and sharing their own stories,
Sure.
myself included. But in general, for anybody, what's some of the guidance?
First of all, keep the day job. Yes, it's a brutal business. It took me years to be able to make a living just writing books. So it took us several books to get that started. But also, if you have the passion for it, then listen to it. And it better be passion. As one of my mentors said about movie scripts, they happen for 2 reasons. 1, fear, and 2 is passion. And fear doesn't work. Fear will not get you through all that. You need to be passionate about your subject, or else the reader never will be. So that's one thing. Second of all, even on my website, johnnubacon.com, under FAQ, I get this question a lot. If it's fiction, you have to just write the novel, and hopefully your would-be agent cries at the end, and then you get a deal. Nonfiction, you have to write the proposal first, not the book. People don't realize that. So you got to write the proposal, a whole different beast. But the other thing, too, if you're passionate about it, it's better to write 1 hour a day, every day, for a year than it is to set aside a week and do it all then. Chip away is the way to do this. And each time you wake up, you look at it differently than you did the day before. So that grows over time. So chip away at it. And also, by the way, all first drafts stink. There's no escape in it. Everyone's first draft stinks. I read the first draft of The Great Gatsby, the first 10 pages. It stinks. And The Great Gatsby, of course, is one of the greatest novels of all time.
Yeah.
So just get to the end of your first draft and go back and make it better. Don't expect your first draft. That's how you get writer's block. Is you stare at the screen, you think, oh, this is not going to stink. It's going to stink. Just let it stink, get to the end, and then go back and make it better.
Why the chip away versus the get her all done and set aside some time?
And that's also good, and I do that on these books as well. I'll go to a cottage up north by myself. It's kind of like The Shining, but hopefully with a better outcome.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yes. So I need that time as well. So that's not, it's a bit too flip of me to say never do that, because I do that. But chipping away, you do it all at once, you have one mindset. Then you have to send it out to some friends, have them read it, and then go at it again. Each time you come to it, your mindset's different. It's kind of like working out. Some days you feel like it, some days you don't, but you make yourself do it, hopefully. But there we go. So it's better to chip away because you get 3 to 5 pages done in a day. Man, 100 days of that is you got 300, 400 pages. All right. Doesn't matter how bad it is. You have something to get better at that point. So it's better usually to chip away than it is to do it all at once.
Got it. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dip into a little of that Michigan athletics with Bo's lasting lessons and several other of John U. Bacon's great works. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Paige Kornblue Show. My guest today is the one, the only John U. Bacon, my favorite author, because you're all over the map and I love it. From The Gales of November, which is your latest work of art, a New York Times bestseller, to Let Them Lead, to the ones we have here, The Great Halifax Explosion, John Saunders Playing Hurt, not to mention the series, all the Michigan athletic series, right? And Bo's lasting lessons, of course, has stuck with me. It sticks with many because there are life lessons there, right? That only Bo Schembechler could share with us. And you knew him well. What was it that stuck with you from that experience?
Bo, of course, was the coach at Michigan from 1969 to 1989, 21 years. I did everything but win a national title. Came close a few times, but 13 Big Ten titles. A legend, certainly, in Michigan and I think in college football. A few things you probably wouldn't expect. One, Bo is known to be a yeller and a screamer and throw his headsets and all this business on the sidelines. He was one of the best listeners I have ever encountered. You talk to his players, he'll tell you the same thing. And he had a strict rule during the game weeks, 10 through 12, Monday through Friday. He and the coaches would go into the room and lock the door. And if his boss called, athletic director Don Canham, Lynn Cook and Mary Passink, his very loyal secretaries, knew to take a message. If the president of the university called, take a message. The president of the United States calls, take a message. And he was close to Gerald Ford and George H.W. Bush. And I had a chance to interview President Ford once. And near the end, I couldn't help but ask him about this. Is that true or not? He goes, it was clear that it was true and he didn't like the policy.
As a first.
He said I could get Brezhnev on the phone faster than I can get the football coach of my alma mater. But if you are a walk-in like Jim Hackett, third-string demo team player, and you couldn't sleep last night because you don't know your role in the team and is it important to be a demo team center and all this, or not to ask him what it's about. If it's personal, he won't tell you or she won't tell you. And don't tell them to come back tomorrow. If they couldn't sleep last night, it's your one chance to help them. So you are to open that door without any hesitation whatsoever, and I'll give that person all the time they need. So in Bo's world, you have his boss, the AD, the president of the university, you have the leader of the free world, you got a third-string walk-on from Solon, Ohio, and that's his priority. Colin Powell had a great line. The day your people quit bringing you their problems is the day that you quit being their leader. If there's one huge thing you can steal from Bo, that's it. Your people bring you their problems. That's a great compliment. And I guarantee you it's going to be inconvenient. You don't have scheduled at 2 o'clock, listen to someone complain about their job. But that's what you're going to do. And people say, oh, these problems distract me from my job. Those problems are your job. It's the most important part of your job. We can all recall when we had problems, we seek out somebody we like and respect. When they helped us, you don't forget it. When they don't help you, don't forget it. So that's one big kernel from Bo is when they ask for help, you better give it.
Mm. What do you think, now we look and there's so many coaching changes. These guys back in Bo's time tended to, stick with it for quite a while. You could say so many things, right, in this day and age and how it's different. But what are some of the things that you see that have stayed the same?
If you don't connect with your people, it's not going to work. If there's one thing Bo did phenomenally well is, and all the players tell me this from the 60s, from the 70s and 80s, that Bo had his finger on the pulse of that team like nobody else. And he knew the players he had to yell at to get their attention, which you don't do in the workplace, of course, but anyway. Knew the players that all I have to do, and you're one of those, by the way, is give a look, and that's more than enough. I'm sure your parents did not spend much time yelling at you. I don't think. Maybe I missed some scenes, but I think that is crucial. The ability to connect with your people. Without that, they're never going to follow you.
Speaking of my parents, the way that John and I met was really neat because my parents and my dad was a tried and true, bled Michigan Wolverine. He went to undergrad at Michigan, so we grew up going to games. And in retirement, Mom and Dad went to Ann Arbor for football season, rented a furnished place, sat in on classes, and then attended all of the home football games and any other games that were going on in the fall, from soccer to, anything that was happening, they were there. Loved every minute of it. And so then they told me about the classes they were sitting in. And when I went to visit for a weekend, I said, wait a second, I'm visiting you now in college. How did this happen? And one of those classes, for several years, was John's sports. Which one?
History of college athletics.
History of college athletics.
Yes, of course, that I cooked up, and they still have, by the way. So that's pretty cool.
Good job. Yeah. So much interest in that course, I'm sure. How was it having my folks in that class?
I love your folks, Ed and Andrea Kornblue, of course. They were my oldest students, but after them, some other folks came down, some other seniors and retirees and whatnot. They would sit near the front. They wouldn't hide in the back. They'd ask questions occasionally, not all the time. If no one else could get the answer, I knew I could point to Ed and Andrea, usually Ed, because he was the hardcore sports fan, of course, and he would know the answer. And I'd tell the 20-year-old undergrads, here's a tip. Get in his study group, because that guy takes notes like you can't believe. And I don't think they took the tests. They didn't have to. It was not for credit for them. They were so delightful to have in class, so much fun. And we got to know them as friends, of course. They'd take me out for dinner. They went to cool places, by the way, not the fuddy-duddy places downtown and on campus and whatnot. And your parents were just great role models for me to how to live fully all your years, not just, let's just chill out and play golf every third day or whatever. Let's dig in.
Yeah.
And they did things that they loved. I don't think your parents were ever bored. And they always had vibrant stories. And they knew the people who ran the restaurant. And of course, they knew some of the students in my class, and they'd stay in touch with them somewhat. And it was always fun to be around them, a great role model. And as you and I have discussed, since they both passed, an earth-shaking lesson, of course, no matter how well you live, time is limited. And your parents, that kind, I thought would be going to 100, and they did very well. Of course, they had good, long lives, but life is still short, and don't forget it. And they lived accordingly, I think. I think they had no regrets. You know better than I, but that'd be my guess.
Absolutely. Yes. And Ann Arbor was a big part of that, especially for Dad, as you said. And thank you for all you did to welcome them in and make their days there better. Remarkable. Yeah. Live for the day. They did. Keep learning. They did. And I find myself doing all of that now, which is pretty.
Of course you are. And I also should be said too, family was everything to them.
Yeah.
You and Brandon, I heard about for years before I met either one of you, of course. And you guys have lived very different lives in some ways, but both in Florida. And actually, you're, I think, still close.
Yep.
But that meant everything to them. They did it without bragging too much.
Maybe a little bit.
There's a little bit of bragging.
But now I can brag about them. And I think, I love sharing that because I think it kind of opens folks' eyes for, hey, like you said, yes, golf, tennis, but what else is there, for us to do in retirement or beforehand,
Well, and they didn't just go to my class. I think they went to an astronomy class. They went to a surprising number of classes about topics that are seemingly unrelated. But they were just curious.
Political history, I think.
History, why not dive in?
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so cool how they saw the world as their oyster. I mean, this is the buffet, let's do it.
Yeah.
And again, they were not bored. I love that.
Well, we could go on and on there, but I appreciate it. And speaking of parents, you're a dad. How's that parenting role to your little guy? How's that role going for you?
Nothing takes more energy, of course.
Yeah.
More of yourself, but there's nothing I'd rather do. I'm a late starter, as you know. Married at 49 and had a kid at 51. So a generation past all my friends. But as long as you keep your energy up, it's actually pretty cool. There are things I don't worry about that I would have worried about, I think, 20 or 30 years ago. Who knows? But it's been a blast. We only have one kid. My wife assures me we have an only child. My wife, Christy. Son is Teddy. But one seems like cheating compared to three, by the way.
What's another couple? I mean, just come on, guys.
Jim Gaffigan had a great line about that. I think he's got like 5 or 6 kids. He said, "What's it like?" He said, "Imagine drowning and then someone hands you a baby."
Even more.
But what's great about it is the perspective you get. You get to live vicariously, of course, through your child to some degree. And just the fascination with the world, how new and fresh everything is, which it wouldn't be at my age, any of this stuff. You've seen it all, you think. So that's just been a ton of fun. It's humbling, no doubt about it. But it's also, your greatest joys have got to come from that.
Are you constantly writing in your head as a writer?
I am, and I can't stop it.
Yeah.
I've got a little notebook over there that I use all the time. Going on vacation with me kind of sucks until I end up getting a story out of it. I spent a month in Spain in 1996. Still a bachelor then and traveling around, a lot of fun. And I came home with 3 stories for the Detroit News, one on bullfighting, one on the Ryder Cup, and one on Barcelona post-Olympics. But it's not ruining it for me. I got to sit down with matadors and bullfighters and ask them questions. They answered them. It's a ton of fun for me.
That works. So what is next? What's the next book?
Working on that one right now. I'm with W.W. Norton. They did Perfect Storm, so it's a good place for Gales up in November. They have Michael Lewis. That's their big star for sure. But they're looking for a multiple book deal, and if that goes through, then we'll have a few ideas. Probably not going to be sports. I've done a lot of sports already, but I've been enjoying. I still follow sports very closely. I still do Michigan radio and WTKA, and I'm still engaged. I'm still in the press box and so on. But one thing nice about not writing a book about sports is no matter how objective you are, and how critical you can be, even of my alma mater, which I love, your book sales still depend on a 19-year-old guy kicking a pointy ball between 2 bars, something your brother knows a whole lot about. And I realize that's probably not the smartest business model. And so these books, talking about a tragedy here, of course, but the success or failure depends on other things. And it's also just fun to spread my wings. As you say, the topics here are seemingly unrelated, which I love. Readers like you love. Thank you for that. My agent drives him crazy. How am I going to pitch you? What is your shtick? And so on. Well, it bounces around. But I like it that way.
What's a common question you get at a lot of these speaking engagements for the books, any of the books? Is there something that kind of as a that I'm not asking that was as helpful to those out there that a lot of people are curious about you?
I would say a couple of things. One, for those who want to write a book or see how it's done. When I finished the Halifax explosion with Peter Hubbard at HarperCollins, he was a big shot then, but now he's a super big shot. He did American Sniper, which of course became a movie, which sold 5 million copies. So he's at that level. When I finished the book, he said, "Congratulations, you've written a great book. Now the hard part, which is you got to sell it." I don't think people consider that when they write a book. Just write a good book and it all takes care of itself. You got to hustle. I will do tonight, but my 40th event in the last 3 or 4 months. We did about 30 events in 2 months between October 7th when it dropped and basically Christmas. So you got to hustle. You got to do a lot of radio and TV, public speaking and so on, which I like. But most authors tend to be introverts and don't like. So that's part of the deal.
Yep.
By the way, when your book comes out, you'll be very good at that.
To me, I'm like, oh, that's the easy part.
There you go.
It's getting through the book and finding time, creating time to write it amidst the day job, the parenting, which is what, all the projects that we try and put our minds to when we're trying to juggle.
Sure.
Many things.
It's not easy for anybody. Even guys like Stephen King, who've got all the money in the world, and Elmore Leonard was a mentor of mine, the Detroit crime novelist. He did Be Cool, Get Shorty, Out of Sight. All of them became big movies with John Travolta and George Clooney and so on. They tend to write, they guard their time very carefully. They tend to write 8 to 12 in the morning, and then that's it. It's hard to write much more than that without your brain frying. But they stick to the schedule. They treat it like a job, even though no one's telling them to do it that day. You kind of have to. Here's a little joke. Those who wait for the muse to show up, of course, are called unemployed. You have to do it like working out. You have to go to the gym whether you feel like it or not. You have to sit down and make yourself do your 2-3 hours, whatever it is, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I have a girlfriend who runs religiously in the morning, right? And so I'm like, oh, and she's like, I get up at, no later than 5 every day. And then, I know early, and I love early. And I'm like, but that's when I like to write, or that's, it's like, you got to pick.
Wow.
And then when do you work out if you're going to go, that's just a lot. So you got to pick your projects, I guess.
You got to make your choices. You cannot do it all. If you try to do it all, you'll do none of it very well. So you make your choices, make your sacrifices. A friend of mine, Jim Tobin, a great writer, he's won some big awards. We always joke about all the productivity books and so on. I always tell you, get up 1 hour earlier. Well, when, like 1 o'clock in the morning? to paint your house, to write your book, to work out, to do this, to do that. You have to make your choices, obviously. And no one writes forever. You write for a while, then you take a break and you come back to it. So that can help too.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back to it, we're going to talk a few more things with John Bacon, perhaps even the state of college football. I always like to ask experts like John, and a few other things, perhaps even a little rapid fire for our author in-house today. So we'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Paige Kornblue Show. My guest today is New York Times bestselling author, Michigan sports radio host, John U. Bacon, speaker. The list goes on and on, John. I'm so happy to have you here in Boca Raton, in Palm Beach County, in South Florida, on your book tour for the Gales of November. So this is the new one of many. How many books total?
14.
14. Kudos.
Thank you.
Several of them, as you mentioned, are about sports. So I didn't want to let you go before asking your thoughts on the state of college football these days, because you know it well, without getting into the nitty gritty, and it's ever changing. How do you answer that question?
It is Wild West, and it's going to get wilder and wester, I think. The horses are out of the bound. You can't put them back. I'm not going to defend the way it was when your brother played. We have a player, a $10 million coach, or $5 million coach back then maybe. And the guy can't sign his name for $5. It's crazy. But what we have now is going to be even crazier, I think, in many ways. The players are getting paid. There are a lot of positives to that, obviously. But it's still going to be a round peg in a square hole. Major leagues and college only work so well. There's no salary cap. There's no disclosure, no transparency of who's getting what. You have all those things, even in the NFL. So my solution in one of those books years ago, which of course nobody listened to, basketball and football in college are so crazy because they don't have what hockey and baseball have had for a century, which is a viable minor league. If you don't want to be a student and you want to make the money, go down the street to the Toledo Mud Hens or the Plymouth Whalers in hockey, near Ann Arbor that is. Take the signing bonus, get paid, don't go to class. It's great. And we don't have two paths in football and basketball. It's still one path. It all goes through these major universities. So it's still kind of crazy. And what I'm waiting for is what's going to happen when you have a $12 million quarterback and somebody like me flunks him in a class. I flunked 2 5-star Michigan players. I got no pushback whatsoever from the university or athletics or anybody. They handled that exactly right, in my opinion. But those guys weren't making $12 million either. I like to think Michigan would not still put any pressure on a professor at that point, or a instructor in my case. But I still think it's going to be a round peg in a square hole. And even now, the former coaches, Nick Saban, and others are saying we have to regulate this in some way. It's just too crazy.
Bowl season. You know I'm a big fan.
That's right.
I mean, the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans is my baby. But, there's something I always like to highlight the traditions to it in this ever-changing world, because we don't know what's happening down the road. But for now, they are strong. And I know you've been to a bowl game or two. Yes. What do you love about those games?
Oh, I just love the feeling. The guys, I recall Michigan when they qualified in 2010 to go to a bowl game. They're in Purdue. They're in the locker room chanting "somewhere warm, somewhere warm, somewhere warm." It's like you're gonna get a week somewhere nice that your other classmates are not gonna get. You're gonna be working during that time, but they don't work. Hopefully, overwork them. They tour and get around. And this is back to my point, I guess, about college football and how it's changed. Okay, it's changed a lot. But before we say the sky's falling, Fritz Chrysler, Michigan's legendary coach and athletic director in the 40s, he was the AD in the 50s, and he said athletic scholarships will be the death of college football. Well, it wasn't. So the sky is not falling. The game has never been more popular, and the TV ratings are sky high, as you know. We've never had more bowl games. They get great ratings. So it's really been impressive how resilient the whole thing is, and in some ways, much better. I don't think, frankly, Indiana winning a national title, incredibly. If you told me that 3 years ago, I'd say you need to talk to somebody. You never guessed that in a million years. I don't think that could have happened without NIL and transfer portals and so on. They're still not the biggest payroll of any the teams out there. They're like 13th or 14th, but it opened things up. So in many ways, what's happening has made it more parity in the game, I think, more equity. And the bowl games, by the way, the guys still love, and they're still going someplace fun. And I guarantee you, anybody wins a bowl game gets one of those chunky rings. And 20, 30 years ago, they'll be telling their friends about it, I guarantee.
Yeah, there's lots to share and lots to celebrate, which is great. And we got to go back to the basics sometimes and just say, what are we doing? What's it all about? Right? So, all right, lots of hopes there, and need some teams to work on those things. Okay, John, U Bacon, the U, that's very important, right? Always.
It's actually lucky. Because if you Google John Bacon, you'll get breakfast recipes by a guy named John.
Okay. Got it.
Without the U, it ain't me. And there's also John Bacon, who writes politics for USA Today. And I used to be at the Detroit News, so my stories would occasionally run on USA Today, part of the Gannett system back then. So I started using that in part to distinguish myself from the other John Bacon, who writes politics. And man, once in a while I get his email, and he does a very good job. But man, when people are reading politics, holy mackerel, I'm glad I'm not doing that because the email you get is incredible. So the John U. Bacon, only I come up. So that's been very helpful.
And very successful, because that's all I've known you as is, with the U. Like I always picture if I'm writing your name, it's with the U. And I think you were the first blog I ever subscribed to years ago and followed, because my parents would print them out in binders. They had John U. Bacon binders. They were such fans of yours and your work, and they'd send them on to me. So, nowadays we have so many bloggers and so many folks kind of doing what you started years ago. And I applaud you on that too. So, John.
Yes.
What's a book that's not yours that you would say is a favorite of yours?
Boy, there are a lot. Favorites. I'm reading one right now by Ron Chernow. He did the book on Hamilton that became the famous musical, of course. Reading his book on Grant, U.S. Grant, the old president / general. That's fantastic. Hampton Sides, The Wide, Wide Sea, about Captain James Cook. I wrote a book about Great Lakes shipping. That Captain James Cook went everywhere, of course, discovered Hawaii in some ways, Guam, et cetera, just Alaska, you name it. So that guy did a hell of a job with that one, to say the least. Jonathan Eig won the Pulitzer Prize for his biography of Martin Luther King, Jr. And that takes guts in the first place, because what can you say that's not been said? There are a lot of ways to trip wires on that one, of course, and he was brilliant. So there are three right there.
There we go. What about your favorite that you've authored?
I have to say that I'm with you on that one. Let Them Lead is my only first-person book. Everything else is third person. It's about my experience coaching. It's because I love those players so much. And I had 54 players in 4 years, and we're still in touch with all of them. They all come back from my barbecue, and I go to their weddings, and they come back with children that are older than my 10-year-old son. And Paige, they give me parenting advice, and I have to take it. So that book is about them.
That one's them. I agree. I love that one. Okay, so on that note, what's a quote that is a great takeaway? That's a good one to share.
From my dad, and it's in that book as well. One of the chapters is titled, only 12 chapters, and one is his. Whenever something bad would happen, and endless failures, of course, in football, not football, hockey, baseball, and for me, and writing and so on, Dad would always say, well, when you're on the floor, you can't fall out of bed. It's like, he was not a motivational speaker. Let's be clear about that. That's not his thing. But it puts it in perspective. It's like, okay, this was going to happen occasionally. You're on the floor. We know what to do. Let's pick it up. And that has probably kept me going more than anything else.
Only one way from here, right?
It can't. You think it can't get worse. And you hope Dad's right.
Okay. And lastly, a story that perhaps, I don't know, will touch us all from, I'll probably let them lead, but any of your fine work.
Sure.
There's got to be a story that's a good one there.
And let them lead. The story of our assistant coach who died in a car accident. He was so beloved that a year earlier, the players had all named him the unsung player of the team, even though he was a coach. He was just that amazing guy. And what the players did at his funeral, I'll never forget. I don't know if I can do it without choking up. I do not make this part of my speeches for that reason. It's kind of too personal. But they took their gold ties. We're known for our green shirts and gold ties. And they laid him on his casket. And no one told them to do that. They were coaching themselves. John Eldridge, one of my favorites, started that. And they all walked away crying. And I was walking up, seeing these guys with their ties and wondering, what are you guys doing without your ties? We wear them all the way out of the rink, of course, and all this. And then two of our captains put their arm around me and said, Coach, we've got a place for these. And that's when I walked up and saw it. So as sad as can be, and if I go another minute, I'll lose it. But also as proud as can be. They were men.
With a couple of amazing coaches.
Well, Lapper was their guy, no question.
I'd say you were in there too. And that's what it's all about, right? John, thank you so much. I appreciate it. For more, you just look up all of these books, but I'll put all the links on my website. It's
johnnubacon.com.
So. Very simple.
Yep.
And the social media handles and accounts that you tend to...
John U. Bacon, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and TikTok, but I'm not doing much. I'm supposed to get going on that.
That's okay.
I haven't yet.
It's a lot. It's a lot now. There's too many.
There's way too many. And especially when people are getting in touch with you. There are like 15 ways to do it now. It's like, direct messages on Twitter, personal messages on Facebook, LinkedIn, texting, email, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How did that person, I owe them a call. Where did they leave the message?
Where was that message?
Right.
I know.
I need a funnel. Put them all in one place.
Yeah. I used to say, why didn't people listen to voicemail? And now all of a sudden I'm like, I just call the person back,
Exactly.
Just call you back.
Voicemail is an old person's thing. I swear to God, I don't do it either. A 2-minute message, there's zero chance.
I know.
You better be the president for me to
leave a message.
That's right.
Right?
Just text me, man. That's how it is.
All right. Well, thank you. More to come as you keep working. Appreciate it and your time as you're passing through.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you. Until next time, everybody. Cheers.